go, we'll do it that way. Right, so local authorities, as part of their climate commitments, have been tasked to reduce carbon footprint and improve local air quality. Lots of benefits involved in that, financially, economically, and health-wise. We're all aware of this. It's something that's been pushed nationally over the last 12-24 months, and it's something that we should all be working to achieve personally and professionally. Fleet departments are frontline in assisting this change. They have the authority and the knowledge to be able to implement quick fix changes that make improvements without a lot of finance, without a lot of expenditure being made. We've got different pressures from different portfolio holders within the councils. We've got finance, so we're about reducing costs, about cutting our costs, not spending too much more money. We've also got the other hand, which is the climate change. Now, reducing emissions, improving air quality, cutting costs don't always work well together. So the challenge has got to be to appease both portfolio holders when we do this. It's got to be something that's got to be effective towards the finance and also effective towards the air quality. So we need to find effective solutions that are going to extend the life of the existing fleet. They must be cost effective against the purchase of new items. It's no good us spending 80-90% the equivalent against a new vehicle or a new item, not getting the same lifespan, not getting the same performance out of it. That's a totally uneconomical way of doing things. It's got to be a suitable level of refurbishment if that's what the challenge is offering. We've got to not incur high level of vehicle downtime, and it's got to guarantee several years of additional use out of it. It's not something that we can have in place that we're only going to get 12-24 months of usage out of. It's got to be several years of additional use from whatever challenge is awarded. So a little bit about us as a council. Really, Luton Borough Council is the local authority of Luton, surprisingly, based in Bedfordshire. We're a unitary authority. We have the powers of non-metropolitan county and district councils combined, and we are currently a member of the East of England Local Government Association, or LGA. It's made up of councillors from 19 wards. Our current leader is Hazel Simmons, and she's a member of the Labour Party. And our current chief exec is called Robin Porter. He's been in place for about 3 years now. Very passionate about improving air quality, very passionate about reducing emissions in the town. So it's nice to have the support of him as well. My name's Paul Hutchins. I'm Transport Manager at Luton Council. I've been in post for just over 5 years, and my background is fleet compliance. So our fleet, I know this was something that was a bit of an interest to a couple of the attendees. What is our fleet made up of? We've got 36 HGVs currently. 26 of those are 26-tonne RCVs. We've got 65 minibuses, a variety of tail lifts and non-tail lifts. Around 130 light commercials, panel vans, tippers, etc. We've got 8 ride-in sweepers. Now, this is currently under review at the moment. They're looking at expanding that fleet to include around 8 ride-on sweepers as well. So that will have to be incorporated into this fleet list as and when we obtain them new equipment. We've got 19 mowers. They vary from ride-on to pedestrian push behind. And we've got 176 items of plant equipment, and that is ranging from brush cutters, hedge trimmers, right through to tractors, so a variety of different plant equipment. The services that we run in-house, so therefore maintain within our workshops, our refuse collection, street cleaning, grounds maintenance and parks, passenger transport, our building works, parking enforcement, pest control, environmental services, and a majority of local schools. So you can obtain that there's a lot of different variations and specifications of vehicles and equipment needed to carry out all of them functions. What have we done so far as a council? We've switched the bunkered diesel fleet to gas to liquid fuel. That's been in place for around 14 months now. We've had no issues with performance or supply with getting that fuel at the moment. And we now want to move this to biofuel as the next step. HVO is one that we're exploring, but we are looking at all variations of biofuels. We've got 12 technicians currently in-house, and we have had them trained up to level 3 electric and hybrid diagnostic and repair qualifications. Now that enables them to do majority of repair and maintenance on electric vehicles, but it still limits them to work on batteries, and it still has certain limitations which only the manufacturer can come in and look after. We've carried out several demos on all types of vehicles and plant. Some have been very good, performed very well, others not so well, but the feedback is key from the operators on this for us to move forward on. So in theory, we've not achieved as much as we would like to yet. We always want to progress, and we're always looking out for potential opportunities to improve what we've done and to future-proof our fleet regarding clean air and climate emission reduction. So what do we want to do next? We want to provide the cleanest, most effective fleet possible to our end users, and we want to provide that in the most cost-effective way. Now, we know that doesn't always work, as in the cost-effective doesn't always mean the cheapest, but we need to come to find some sort of middle ground where we're going to improve air quality and reduce emissions quite drastically, but still work within an agreed budget and an overall whole life costing of the vehicles or equipment. We want to improve air quality, reduce and wherever possible remove all harmful emissions. Now we know that that's not going to be possible on some specification and variations on that, but we want to achieve the maximum reduction possible from this project. We need to ensure that we achieve and maintain the required performance of the equipment throughout the course of its extended lifespan. It's no good for us to have a conversion or have a solution put in place that's going to replace an item which we would expect to stay on fleet for 4 or 5 years and only get 2 years of usage out of it. That wouldn't prove economical, and it would just increase issues for services this end. So we need to make sure that it's going to be productive and effective throughout the whole of its extended lifespan. And whatever solution we go for on the back of this, we don't want this to be the end of it. We want to work with the provider to continue with future developments and technologies. We want to make sure that we continue making improvements after this challenge and ensure that we carry on providing the cleanest fleet in the most cost-effective way. So what options can we go for at the minute? This isn't the be-all and end-all. We know there's other options involved and other options available beyond this. So apologies if anybody's attending that has other solutions. These are just the obvious ones that most people are talking about at the moment. So the EVs, we've demoed these. Again, some are good, some not so good. But they can be expensive to buy, especially when we're looking at refuse trucks, especially looking at heavy goods vehicles. You've also got to install the infrastructure around charging, which can also be an expensive cost or an expensive outlay at the moment. So with mixed performance, what we just touched on, some have been very good. Some are performing better than the diesel variants in vehicles. They work better for the operation, but some are not quite there yet. We know that. We're not getting the range out of them, especially with weight on and things like that. It's unknown realistic lifespans because not enough of us councils have been using these EVs across the whole of our fleet, putting them through their paces and using them as we require them to be used, to know realistically how long this equipment is going to last and are we going to get the desired lifespan out of it. And on the back of that, that comes with unknown realistic whole life costings. With not knowing the lifespan or realistic lifespan, it's very difficult to provide costings. You can estimate these, but without any experience or backing data, it's hard to put realistic costings against this. The cleaner fuels, like we've made the switch to gas to liquid already. There's others out there. HVO is one we're looking at. We know there's several other biofuels which are just as effective and work just as well. It's a quick fix. It's something that can be implemented pretty straightforward with very little change. We've had no change to our infrastructure for our fueling system. We've made no changes to our vehicles at all for this. And there's been no interruption to the service whatsoever for you for implementing the gas to liquid. We didn't even inform the drivers for the first month, to be honest, because we didn't want that to create problems. We wanted to see how it worked without notifying them. No issues at all on that, even regarding DPFs and things that we wasn't sure about. If anything, the DPFs are actually lasting, seem to be going a bit longer by this fuel. So it's got an additional benefit to the DPF regeneration. It also allows you to utilise the existing combustion vehicles, especially with lead times being what they are for certain vehicles. We're being quoted 24 months for some HGV chassis for refuse trucks. That's a long time to wait for new vehicles. So this allows us to use these vehicles while making, as mentioned, a quick fix, and with very little change required. But it is a temperamental market. We've seen with our own private vehicles, the cost fluctuating and increasing quite drastically over the last, well, certainly this year. It's the same with the biofuels. It's the same with the gas to liquid fuel. The cost increases in line with diesel. It is going to cost you slightly more, but it's the benefits that come with it. So it's very difficult to predict where that's going to go with costing as well with cleaner fuels. And we've got hydrogen, good technology, but again, still needs some work involved in that. The performance appears to be very good on this. Feedback we've got from people using it is very good, very positive, and they support it wholeheartedly. But the supply, we're being advised, could be an issue depending on the region. You know, it's this solution has got to work for everybody. It's got to be able to be implemented across the country. So if we're going to have issues of some stakeholders are going to have issues getting supply, that's not going to be a suitable solution to this. And we're carrying out a review on our fleet at the moment from the Energy Saving Trust, and they've advised us that at the moment, hydrogen would not be suitable for us. But that's something we're going to keep on top of. That's something we'll keep exploring, because as technology improves and as supply improves, it may become more of a feasible option for us. In regard to the retrofitting, it's been quite a common and popular solution for certain councils recently. It's utilising the existing combustion vehicles, which again has its benefits. The lead times on this is more favourable than new vehicles. As mentioned, we've been sort of 24 months is a long time for local authorities to wait for vehicles, especially when they're sweating assets out as it is. Varying costs depending on the level of conversion. You know, what are we having done? What is being converted on our existing fleet is going to have an impact on the costs. But the vehicles are still going to contain the worn and aged parts. They're not going to completely revamp and rechange the whole of that vehicle. So how long are the parts going to last that remain after the retrofit? They're still going to be as old as the vehicle initially. So we need to make sure that we're going to get the lifespan out of the vehicles, or the extended lifespan out of the vehicles following a retrofit, including the parts which are not replaced as part of that retrofit project. The performance of this appears to be very good. Feedback again, especially on the refuse collection, appears to be very good. So it does appear to be a suitable solution as well. So, like I mentioned, that is not the be all and end all list of solutions available. We know there's several more. They're just the main ones. The challenge needs to overcome issues, and this is paramount to being a success. We need to work to an agreed budget, which understandably hasn't been provided yet, because it depends on what solution is provided. But there will be an agreed budget put forward to who the solution provider, and that's something that we're going to have to try and stick to quite seriously and quite strictly. We need to minimise the downtime of the existing fleet. We don't have the luxury of local authorities of having a pool of additional vehicles to use when one's off the road. So we're working to the numbers that we have. We are aware that there's going to be downtime involved in this, but it needs to be kept to a minimum, and it's something that we need to agree and know about before we proceed with this. It's something that we need to be able to work around to continue the service. It needs to be able to achieve suitable carbon and emission savings, which also need to be evidenced. We need to see proof that it is achieving these emission savings and these reductions, because new vehicles or new items will be able to provide that evidence. So any solutions that are put in place on the back of this we also need to provide that evidence, because these are going to be extending the current vehicles and then knocking back the replacement of new vehicles for a number of years. So on the back of that, it needs to guarantee a number of years of effective performance alongside the existing components. We can't have a solution that says, well, I'll guarantee my bit for 5 years. The rest of it, it's up to you, because that doesn't give us very much comfort or a suitable solution going forward. We need to have something in place that we're not going to have to continue to do existing work on. We want something that we're going to be able to run with and have very little issues going forward once this has been put in place. So we need to continue working relationship to develop further improved modern solutions. As I mentioned before, we don't just want to wash our hands of this supplier or this challenge provider on the back of this. It's something we want to continue working with, and we want to be able to work together to adapt